Welcome back everyone to the domination of the Saudi Pro League on the footballing world. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about four main segments of the Saudi Pro League. First off, I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of the Saudi Pro League. Then I'm going to go into all the events that have happened in the last year or so, which has led them to this point. Then I'm going to talk about their transfers so far this summer and how they're taking the footballing world by storm. And finally, I'm going to end off talking about their plans for the future. So without further ado, let's get right into this. The Saudi Pro League was founded in 1976, about 47 years ago, and they are part of the Asian Football Confederation, otherwise known as AFC. Throughout history, the Saudi Pro League have been ranked fairly low, and most of their players have been Saudi Arabian, besides the few exceptions of players who have been from other countries in the Middle East or a couple of North African countries. But throughout the past year or so, there have been some crazy events that have led the Saudi Pro League to take the football world by storm. It all started when the World Cup 2022 was held in Qatar, which was the first Middle Eastern country to hold a World Cup. This really put the Middle East on the map of football, and Saudi Arabia knew this was their chance to shock the world and show the world that they are a footballing nation. They did exactly that, because in their first game of the World Cup, they were versing Messi's Argentina, who eventually did go on to win the World Cup, and they won. They beat the World Cup winners Argentina 2-1. This was exactly what they needed to give them a head start in this campaign that they're trying to achieve. Although this was the only positive result they got in the World Cup and they did get knocked out of the group stages, it was still an amazing result, and they were the only team that successfully were able to beat Argentina. This was the perfect sign for Saudi Pro League investors to put money into Al Nassr to try and sign one of the greatest footballers of all time, arguably the GOAT of this generation, Cristiano Ronaldo. A lot of people thought that there was no way that Ronaldo was going to Saudi Arabia after a lustrous career in Europe. But after they offered him 200 million per season, there was no way that he declined, and Cristiano Ronaldo joined Al Nassr. Now, you may be wondering, how did Al Nassr get 200 million per year to sign Cristiano Ronaldo? And that is because of one thing: the Public Investment Fund. Saudi's Public Investment Fund is the sovereign wealth fund of Saudi Arabia, and it is the largest wealth fund in the world, having an estimated of 650 billion US dollars in this fund. And this fund is owned by the one and only Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. The Crown Prince was one of the main people that wanted Saudi Arabia to try and take over football, and because of this, what he did is he used the Public Investment Fund, which I already said has 650 billion US dollars in it. And what he did with this is he bought 75% of each of the following clubs: Al Nassr, Al Hilal, Al Ittihad, and Al Ahly. So now the Public Investment Fund owns 75% of all four of these Saudi Arabian clubs. The amount of money that was put into these clubs after the PIF took over is absolutely crazy. It's almost unthinkable, and it's unheard of in the footballing world. The Crown Prince stated that by doing this, he wanted to enhance the appeal of the Saudi Pro League, and he wanted to attract the top players in Europe's leagues, and that is exactly what he is doing. He plans for each of the four teams, Al Hilal, Al Ittihad, Al Nassr, and Al Ahly, to sign at least 3 top players from Europe this summer transfer window. But you may be wondering, how are they allowed to spend millions and millions on players when clubs in Europe aren't allowed to do that? And that is because there is no financial fair play in the Saudi Pro League, so they can technically spend as much as they want, 100, 200, 300 million if they have to. And this leads us into the next segment, the summer transfer window. This summer started off with a bang for the Saudi Pro League, as in the first few weeks of the summer transfer window, Al Ittihad signed Karim Benzema from Real Madrid. The contract is a 3-year deal, and Karim Benzema will be earning 200 million per season. That is just absolutely insane. Al Ittihad also had another Frenchman in mind, as they wanted to sign Kante from Chelsea. They signed Kante on a 4-year deal, earning 100 million per season. But the Saudi Pro League didn't want Al Ittihad to have all the good players, so Al Hilal went out and bought Ruben Neves from Wolves for 55 million. But this wasn't all, as they wanted to sign as many players from Europe as they could. So they looked at Chelsea, who were planning to sell a lot of players, and they decided to try and get everyone. Hakim Ziyech is going to Al Nassr, Edouard Mendy is going to Al Ahly, and Kalidou Koulibaly is going to Al Hilal, all of them on a 3-year deal. But they weren't finished, as Al Nassr went on and signed Marcelo Brozovic from Inter Milan on a 3-year deal worth almost 100 million euros. And finally, the most recent signing we know of is Al Ahly has signed Bobby Firmino from Liverpool, again on a 3-year deal. All these insane signings, and the summer transfer window hasn't even been open for 1 month yet. And this leads me into my final point: what is the future of the Saudi Pro League? The future for the Saudi Pro League is honestly incredibly scary for European football, and if they don't get more money, then they will not be able to compete. The Saudi Pro League is trying to sign at least 8 foreign players for each of their top teams, and these players don't just include any European players. They want to sign the top players, the best players, the biggest name players in Europe. The Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman even said himself that in the next few years, he wants Saudi Arabia to be one of the top leagues in the world, and he will stop at no cost. Knowing that the Public Investment Fund has over 650 billion US dollars and the Saudi Pro League is their #1 priority at the moment, I honestly don't think that a lot of European clubs can compete because no one has this amount of money. And as all of these big name players keep going to Saudi Arabia, this will just attract more and more players and more fans, and that is exactly what they want. Honestly, in the next couple years, I think there's going to be at least 2 Saudi Arabian clubs that will be playing in the Champions League, if not even more. Personally, I don't really like what they're doing because I've always thought of football as a sport rather than a business, and I think what Saudi Arabia are doing is mainly a business to attract people to their country. Even when Chelsea spent 650 million in 1 year, I wasn't a big fan of that because it takes away from the sport and the history, the tradition, the passion, and it just turns it into a business, and that is exactly what Saudi Arabia are doing. If you're a European football fan like I am, I'm honestly scared for what Saudi Arabia can do in the future, and I think that they're going to be one of the top leagues in the world at some point if they stay on this route. But that is it for this video, where I talked about the history, the current events, the transfers, and the future plans of the Saudi Pro League. But for now, let me know your guys' opinions and thoughts on the Saudi Pro League in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more videos.